So he moves in April 1st, and then May 23rd,
My house was raided.
your house was raided.
Yes.
This man battling Parkinson's disease took in a tenant at his Santa Rosa home to help pay the bills. But that tenant turned out to be a nightmare.
And he also turned out to be the ex-boyfriend of fashion designer Calvin Klein.
Yeah, the landlord asked the I-Team's Dan Noyes to look into the case after the tenant filed a big lawsuit. And Dan, you are here with the story.
Well, Dan, Nick Gruber got used to the spotlight as Calvin Klein's partner. They had a 48-year age difference, and he had some very public controversies. Tonight, he agreed to talk to me about his criminal record and this latest complaint that he was a problem tenant. During the pandemic, Richard Jones and his husband, Alfonso Monreal, were looking for a roommate, someone to help pay the bills at their Santa Rosa home. Jones is battling Parkinson's disease. You came to us to tell the story. Why?
So I don't want this to happen to anybody else. Just check your out. Sorry.
A friend introduced Jones and his husband to Nick Gruber. He made a good first impression.
He seemed like a very nice guy. He's young. He's single, so he said. And he's just very polite.
I did my research. I did a background check. And I was like, oh, okay, Calvin Klein's ex-boyfriend.
Nick Gruber made frequent appearances in the tabloids after he began seeing Calvin Klein in 2010, the fashion designer's first public same-sex relationship. Gruber was 20 years old when it started, Calvin Klein 68. Their romance inspired an off-Broadway play.
Because I just flew across the country to be with you. So maybe we could send the party boys home and spend some time together.
I live here. You don't have to be so visiting.
All the attention had an effect on Gruber. But you go from just like a normal guy to paparazzi hounding you on the street and the red carpet with Calvin Klein and all that. Your head must have been spinning.
Oh, I mean, I guess I was chasing the lights. Like I said, it was all glam and famous. I guess it could have been a culture shock, but I was able to adapt to it really quickly. I enjoyed it.
Gruber tells me his relationship with Calvin Klein ended after 2 years because he got caught up in New York's party lifestyle.
After the separation, you know, the drugs kind of followed me a little bit, and it haunted me over the years. And it's something I had to deal with.
Gruber's run-ins with the law over drugs and sometimes guns continued when he began living with Richard Jones and his husband in 2021. You were dealing drugs at that point in time.
I was in the drug industry. At that time, yes.
I'm hearing you making a difference between selling drugs and being in the drug industry. If you don't want me to use the expression selling drugs, can you describe for me what you were doing in the drug industry?
I was a broker. I would call the client, and then I would get a hold of the person who's the supplier and arrange the deals.
It's a nice neighborhood.
Neighbors recall cars coming and going late into the night.
Cars pulling up in front of the house and, you know, somebody going in for a while and then coming out.
What did the neighbors think was going on?
We suspected it was some sort of drug activity.
It all ended when Santa Rosa police responded to a call for a tenant-landlord dispute, checked Nick Gruber's record,
and learned that he was on probation for a prior criminal conviction, and he was required to submit to warrantless search and seizure of his person, vehicle, and property.
Police searched the part of the house that Gruber used, this bedroom and this locked closet.
A search of the closet uncovered a locked safe, which, when opened, had a semi-automatic handgun, approximately 9 pounds of methamphetamine, and $10,000 worth of cash.
Police arrested Gruber and charged him with possession for sale of a controlled substance with a special allegation for excess methamphetamine, possession of a firearm by a felon, identity theft, and forgery.
What's going on? I would really like to know what's going on.
We just finished our probation. We're solving a problem for you, man.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Richard and Anthony thought their problems had been solved, but Gruber got out after 2 years at High Desert State Prison, found the couple at their new apartment in Oakland, and asked for his belongings.
Because I have a lot of property there, and as a landlord, you have a duty and obligation to protect my property, and he failed to do so. He failed to give my property to my family friend.
Richard Jones says he followed his attorney's advice, sending an eviction notice and a letter warning Gruber he was going to dispose of his property.
I waited 6 months for him to show up, and he never showed up. Never heard from him. So I donated a bunch of stuff to more insurance.
Gruber sued Jones for breach of contract and valued his property at $182,000. A long list, mostly designer clothes. 2 Prada suits for $10,000, for example. A $10,000 Rolex watch and a $10,000 custom Calvin Klein desk. Were all those things actually in that room?
Yes, they were.
Gruber also saw $233,000 more in damages, but the judge ruled in favor of the landlord and tossed out that part of the lawsuit. And when Gruber could not provide receipts for most of his property, the judge awarded him a total of $8,683. That's a big difference from $180 down to $8,000. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm just happy that I was able to win.
Yeah.
Richard Jones tells me after lawyers' fees, he's broke, has no way of paying the $8,000, and that the stress of dealing with Nick Gruber has made his Parkinson's disease symptoms worse.
Very emotional because it affected me so bad. And still having to fight and have the memories come back of what I went through. I take it very personally.
You, with your business, brought a lot of pressure to Richard. Right?
Yeah,
you understand that, right?
Yes. I mean, I apologize for what has happened. I do, from the heart, I apologize. I mean, it shouldn't end that way. It shouldn't have ever happened.
Gruber tells me he's been clean and sober for 3 years and that he's studying to become a firefighter. He's also writing a book. He says his time with Calvin Klein is just one chapter, though. There's much more to his story, he claims.
What a story.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Dan.